see. The live chat. Hello, it's the first time doing the live chat. I have no idea what to expect. Um, so I see there are some people in the room already. I'm outside of my uh, father-in-law's house here in northern part of Japan, Hokuriku area, the Noto Peninsula. That's about an hour from Kanazawa City. I can see the live chat directly, but uh, if anyone hears that I'm actually speaking, please just say something so I know that you can actually hear. Oh, thank you, Brian. Yes, the actually the purpose of doing live is that the channel actually has 10K sub now. Oh, thank you. The snow. This area doesn't snow so much compared to Hokuriku. No, sorry, compared to Tohoku. You know, the Fukushima, Iwate, Sendai, the further northern part area, or Niigata. Those areas snow really a lot, like to your shoulder or even more, 3 meters on really crazy days, January, February. So those places, I think the roof of the house is very steep. I don't know if it's actually good to do like the vertical, but I guess it doesn't matter so much. But yes, I think the house over there has a very steep snow roof to try to keep the snow off the roof. But this area, it's quite typical. I think it tends to have more black tiles rather than different colors. I don't know if it's better for uh, having the snow melt earlier or not, but yes, they have black tiles, and over there, I guess you cannot see much, but uh, it's covered in snow as well. And at the back, it's really just a forest, and it has like an old. This is the oldest part of the property, I think, or not property, the house that used to be like a storage. Uh, Now they just use it as what is it? Um, because my father-in-law is a farmer. He's a farmer now, and then so that's where they process the uh, rice crops that they have during the season. Hello, hi Eric, hi. Oh, I can see everyone. Sorry, Insole, Chiba. Chiba, I'm so sorry for insulation. Really, you can't expect too much from old traditional houses like these ones. You can do only so much. There are insulation materials that most of the renovation they put under the roof, they put in between the walls, under the floor. And floor heating, of course, is a very effective way to make you feel warm inside the house. But compared to living in an apartment and everything is still going to be a lot colder. Um, the place I live in Kyoto now, I think as long as you kind of divide the living area, for example, you're going to be sleeping on the second floor, the first floor just going to be living room or rooms that you don't use so much, then of course you can keep warm easier on the second floor. And even when you're sleeping, you don't. I mean, it's good to have the air conditioning, but you won't need to make the second floor so much warmer compared to sorry, the other way. You don't need to make the first floor so much warmer compared to the second floor because the first floor you won't be spending so much time uh, over the midnight because you're just not spending so much time in that room. Uh, how do I keep the chat so I can see the question? Okay. Chiba. Chiba has a lot of kominka traditional houses. I know there's a site. There are several realtors in Chiba. Actually, they have lots of um, traditional houses there um, available, and compared to other areas, of course, I think it's still more expensive. 5 million, 10 million, around that range. But there are a lot where that you can find. Uh, Hempcrete. Montalbano. Hello. So I don't know what hempcrete is. Sorry, so I can answer that question right now. Um, thank you for joining. I can see the other message. Region. Hi, Smith, Mr. Smith. The region I'm in. This region here is Hokuriku, so Ishikawa Prefecture, Fukui Prefecture, and Toyama Prefecture. These are the three prefectures in the Hokuriku region, they say. Sometimes they include Niigata, which is even further up. But that's even like a colder area and a lot more snow, so maybe that they don't put it in the same region as Ishikawa and Toyama. But even today is not so cold. What is it? 2-3 degrees Celsius. But I heard over in where is it? Europe, even parts of the States is getting very warm now, which is really I wouldn't say envious, but surprising. Thank you, a coupleless survivor. Your question. Let me see. Just let me see. What is it? To pests in Japanese homes. Levita Star. I think most of the time is really the worst is just termites in general. You're gonna find termites in everywhere in different regions of Japan, but you know that's nothing you can do about it unless you're living there full time to just kind of keep the house that the air in and have the ventilation going. But other than that, there's just a lot of bugs. I think in the mountain forest area. Mukade pet. I don't know if you call them pets because they still kill off some other unwanted bugs. But yeah, mukade centipede. That depends on the area. From here, this 10 centimeters, 15, 30 centimeters. I haven't come across any here in my father-in-law's place. But there are even in Kyoto City, you can hear people have like mouse running around the roof. Weasel, I think is the right word, but also you have weasel. The house that I bought in Kyoto, my neighbors, they always tell me, because it has been vacant for I think 10-20 years before before I actually bought and moved there. They have a lot of animals coming in and out of the house, and then the smell is quite disturbing for them. Like, I think they're happy that actually somebody took over the place so they don't have to deal with the small animals. So sorry. So a couples survivor. Yes, moving to Japan, buying a house. Um, it's really moving to Japan is the hard part because again, buying a house, owning a house, anything related to that doesn't make you eligible for any kind of status to um, live and work here. It really all depends on your job. Depends on what you do here in Japan. You can of course just make a company of your own. I think there are some rules where you might have to hire somebody who is a Japanese national to get the business manager visa. Um, so if you have that, you can actually live in Japan with that visa all year round. But you have to renew, I think, every 1 year. Depends on how many years you have been in Japan. But to just buy or own a house doesn't change anything. Um, but of course, having a address in Japan is always a good thing. If you don't mind, just come buy a property and have your house of your own when you visit. Because a lot of things you do have to have an address so they can register your information, um, or even having like a bank card that you will need to be living in Japan or have a visa that's valid for over 6 months in Japan. But again, that depends on what kind of visa you have. So not so much to do with having a property or not. Sorry, I don't know if that answered your question, but let me know if you wanted to know a bit more. ちょっと待って。COVID test. No, I don't think they require anything now. Anyone can come easy, except I guess recent outbreak from China. They're trying to get more strict so they don't spread all over again like you used to. Okay, sorry, your wife is a Japanese citizen. In that case, you can just come as like a spouse visa. Then I don't think you'll be eligible for the housing loan yet because you haven't been living in Japan or working in Japan for a while. But just with the spouse visa or spouse permanent residence status, you can just come move to Japan and live here. You don't have to buy a house. But again, and you don't have to have that status to buy or own a house. Do you think there is a problem with buying an old house that has been passed down with the Japanese for a long time as an outsider? No, there's no problem. I think a lot of people are, well, not a lot, but the people that I know, they are quite happy that somebody can actually take over. I have there were some clients who kept a good relationship with the owner of the house, and even wrote some letter to show their appreciation of how they would like to contribute to making the house livable again. And that's a good benefit for the neighborhood that the house is not vacant. That said, there are some occasions when actually the house was passed by really just the same family for generations, and they do. There were cases where the owner just don't want any inquiry from outside of Japan, so like they don't accept any kind of property viewing offers for any foreigners to buy the house because they just prefer somebody from Japan, and there's nothing you can do to that. I mean, it's the seller's choice to sell to whoever they want. So if the house cannot sell for a long time and they still keep rejecting any intention to buy from foreigners, then I guess they'll just have to try to sell the house for a long time. So that was one property that was really located in very historical area in Nara, that the owner just didn't want to deal with any foreign buyers. ホuse Tokyo Lima, yes, Lama, sorry, Tokyo Lama, yes. The house that he bought was very nice, really. He wasn't so old. I think he said also he was 60s or 70s. So, but I think that person who built the house must be very rich to use uh, really good materials. And I haven't, of course, visited the house, but I can tell it's not like just a typical normal house. And he was using the auction. Auction is a bit tricky. If you're outside of Japan, you can still, I think you can still join the auction, but I wouldn't recommend because there's just too many risk. And then of course it's not guaranteed that you get the property even if you enter with your bid. Hi, Aaron, hi, Aaron. Somebody works remote job with a foreign income. How does that affect the visa procedure? Sorry, that depends on what kind of visa that you have. But I don't think Japan offers any kind of special visa for like a remote working. So you'll still really be working from where you live and then just spend maybe a few month or two in Japan. But maybe if you have like a more specific info, I can try to answer. Kominka Solo Life. Yes, there are a lot of cool channels about Kominka, and I think really in even in Japan, of course, that has already become very popular to have that YouTube information, YouTube channels about living in rural countryside area of Japan. And of course, it might be kominka, it might not be a kominka, but either way, it's great to see how people are living in different regions of Japan. And really, I would love to do that a bit more if I'm living outside the city. I'm in Kyoto City, so I don't have that much chance to go outside. Um, it, what is it? How much would the property cost including fees? So PMSLA Smith, property cost. Which property? But the fees usually anything that the tax, property tax, the brokerage commission, everything just usually adds up to 10% of how much the property is. Um, so if it's a 10 million house, probably have about 1 million for the MISC. For the other fees will be enough. Oh my God! Yes, American man in murder in where is that? Nagano. I hear the news about the murder in Nagano. Like a American resident, American national, who has been living in Japan for a long time, and his family was murdered by somebody with not like a clear intention. Sorry, I don't know too much about that event, but it was really unfortunate that it was his family before the New Year's. But yeah, suggestion on meeting the neighbors to avoid that, it's really impossible. I don't think you can really decide on buying a house and then you before you do that and do like a thorough investigation of whoever living in the neighborhood. It's really unpredictable. Somebody can be fine at a certain period of time, and then 5-10 years later, it just kind of become crazy over time. I don't know. It's something that you cannot really be prepared for, other than just have that preparation in mind that there might always be somebody with bad intentions living in the neighborhood. But I mean, it's in Japan, so really you don't have to worry so much. Um, Even for me, I I mean that's one thing about living in Japan. Like you just tend to forget that outside of Japan, every other country is not so safe. Um, that being in Japan just makes it so comfortable. You forget that you should really be cautious in most of the other countries. Sorry, that was. Let me just change it to another location. This is the garden. Uh, this is the garden of my father-in-law's place with matsu pine trees. お foreigners buy a house more expensive. No, Eric, they don't buy a house more expensive than Japanese. The houses they're all the same price. Um, but I do have some buyers from America. They were just surprised that the offer they don't start higher. Instead, in Japan, the offer start lower. So usually you can start like 5-10% less than the listing price. So you don't have to, you know, it's not competitive that you have to offer higher than the listing price. Um, so yes, foreigners, it's not mandatory. No, it's not mandatory, but it's not more expensive for foreigners to buy any house in Japan. Uh, Underground abandoned mines. Yes, there are a lot of underground abandoned mines in, I think, Hyogo prefectures. There are, or even, where is it? Gifu. Gifu, they have some mines where, I guess, during the um, economic rise in 60s, 70s, they dig up a lot of mines. But even from before, of course, Edo period, they have some copper mine everywhere in Japan. Not everywhere, but close to the mountains. But I'm not familiar with any of that. Uh, Let me just go to the coolest abandoned house, Omi Hachiman, fake castle on the hillside. Okay. Which was a farmer attraction, but they removed it last year. Fake castle. I heard some news about like really. Uh, I don't know about that castle in particular, but there are some like uh, personal owned um, architectures that were made maybe in the show up here when some people are just too rich. They just build some random stuff, and in the end, it was kind of bad to the streetscape. So, and they don't have the money to keep up with the things they built. So in the end, the city has to wipe their ASS so that they take off the architectures for them. Sin Daquil, thank you. Yes, thank you. My videos that you find the videos helpful. Um, I do hope to continue making them regularly. Uh, what about my in-laws? Smith, you said something. Oh, sorry. United States suburb Banff channel. You're preparing to move Japan, and I have a visa in order to. No, you don't. Sorry, you want to move permanently. Yes, if you want to move here permanently, you have to prepare some kind of visa. I don't know how old you are or what kind of background, but some people just can come with like a student visa in the beginning for a year, and they just have with the student visa they could get like a bank account more easily. and that's a bank account you can use when later you want to buy a house, but it's not necessary. It just makes it easier. But with other visa status, for example, you make a company here in Japan, that's also doable. Or if you have other special status, I think there are really a lot of options. Good Akiya banks, Aomori. Yes, with Aomori, definitely use the Akiya bank because I think there are not that many realtor in that area that deal with properties on normal basis. So just type in the city name and Akiya Bank, uh, the city, and then you can find. But all the information will be in Japanese. And again, the problem with Akiya Bank, if you're not moving there and living there full time, and if you're not in Japan at the moment, there's a good chance they just don't respond to you, or they're not so um, actively looking for somebody who's outside of Japan, because the chances are it adds it adds work to the people working in the city. So when that happens, they just don't feel like dealing with any foreign inquiries. So only use the Akiya Bank if you're actually in Japan, and you can meet them in person. I think that's the easiest way. Uh, Thank you for the sticker. I don't know how to pronounce CVONKO. Vonkomar. You speak English very well. Yes. Thank you. Again, I think a lot of people still think maybe I'm from Japan or anything, but I'm Taiwanese. I was born in Taiwan, but I lived in Vancouver for 10 something years for school until university, and then after I graduated, that's when I first came to Japan uh, to for I came here for 1 year when I was in university in for like an exchange. Um, but when I officially moved to Japan to work was in 2012. So about 10 years after I moved here officially in Japan. How much property price of my current location? Your in-laws? My in-laws, I can't really. Well, if you're interested, this is the outside. Uh, I think it's about I don't know, a living room, two two rooms in the first floor, uh, three more rooms on the second floor, 150 200 square meters, and then here in front of Akura storage. This is very common for a house in a rural area to have a huge storage outside of the house. It looks like this, and there are some other buildings like that one that's very old, that's just used as a storage again for like farming equipment. um, and because again this is livable, and it has quite a lot of land including farmland, and they have a very good view. um, there's a highway, and very nice maintained simple garden like this. um, and I guess I don't know, some a property like this in the rural area, 5 million, 10 million, in between that range. um, Around 10 million you can find a lot that's livable, around the same size, that comes with a lot of things inside the house as well. And you don't have to do too much to repair. So, but I think if it's more rural, this place is still it's not walkable to a station or anything, but you can drive very easily to shop, to hospital, to train stations, so it's still relatively convenient. So what is it? So yes, probably like this, maybe close to 10 million yen. In more remote areas, maybe 5 million. Are you familiar with Miyagi? Miyagi-ken. Where is Miyagi-ken? Where Miyagi-ken? Sendai? Sendai. I think a lot of people know I also do the website called Koryoya, and that's where I have a lot of properties from Okominka houses from other areas, and they usually tend to be in Kansai and Hokuriku, just because I'm more familiar and I visit these areas more. But Miyagi-ken, I don't know. I think there are some prefectures, for example, definitely Hokkaido. It doesn't really have that much traditional Japanese houses. There's more Western influences. So there are like ryokan, Western style houses. They're still old, maybe built in the 20s, 30s. That I think are nice, but I think that's not what a lot of people are looking for. Um, but Miyagi-ken, Sendai is the biggest city in the Tohoku region, so they still expect the population to grow at least around that metropolitan area. So, in I guess the investment point of view, buying there, you won't depreciate as much, or you might even appreciate. I think you maybe some people see on the news some other uh, big big cities, mid-sized cities. They have been the properties there have been the price has increased a lot over the last 2 3 years. I don't know by a lot. It's not like a American real estate market kind of a lot, but to Japan, still any increase is a good increase. Um, what is it? The castle, Omui Hachiman, pretty. Z, thank you, congratulations. Yes, thank you. I'm very happy that I have the chance to do like a live chat like this. Happy New Year, everyone. あげましておめでとうございます。どうSo Philip, your wife, my wife is Japanese. I'm a foreigner. Would be easy for buy a property as second residence. Yes. Even if your wife is not Japanese, it's not hard to buy a house just as a vacation home here in Japan. In terms of where the house is, of course, if it's outside of the big cities, it's just a bit more difficult to navigate. That the realtor in the rural region, they just don't deal with foreign buyers so much. But if your wife is a Japanese, then I guess anywhere in Japan, that it will be quite easy for you to just inquire about the property. And most properties, it's fine to use just as like a second home, vacation home. The only restriction where you want to use as a vacation home is that if somehow the property is listed on again the Akiya Bank, and then the city wants you to live there full time instead of using as a vacation home, then you would have to again probably negotiate with the city on how you can work it out. I don't think it's 100% like um, really they don't accept anything other than somebody who has to live full time. But usually on the surface, they will just say, you have to move to the property and work at the work in the city, and I guess contribute to the neighborhood over there. Uh, Hi, Blue Dog. Yes, your wife is Japanese. You bought a house in Fukuoka. Living in Japan is totally different issue. She said that if I wanted to live in Japan, she would need to sponsor me the same way I sponsor her to get her green card. With a temporary visa restricting time in country, are there some other things that the properties could be used for that won't make the neighborhood sad? Is trying to let the property the only option. What was the last sentence? But really, the only reason that the neighbors would be maybe they have maybe some opinions or concerns is when, of course, when you run like a guest house or some sort of business that involves a lot of people coming in and out. Even like maybe izakaya restaurant, some people don't like it in the neighborhood. Well, it depends on the zoning as well. I think to do those business, it has to be in the commercial zone. But I don't think there is so much concern of owning a house and buying a house that will make the neighborhood sad. I mean, as long as you're there, even if you can be there full time throughout the year, when you're in Japan, just show your face to the neighborhood, and of course, in the beginning, bring some omiyage, very common to visit the houses in front of you and in the back. In the rural area, maybe all the houses are too separated from each other. It's hard to meet the neighbors. But so Blue Dog, sorry, I your question is to sponsor. Why? Right. If you want to, I'm curious because if you get like a permanent residency as a spouse, then she won't need to sponsor you for anything. Like you won't need a visa if you have like the spouse permanent residency. So unless you don't want that, but you want some other visa that needs her to sponsor you, otherwise I don't think there will be a problem. Suburb NF channel, retired military, already have a bank account. Why need the visa simply to live in Japan? That's a good question. With the retired military, I have no idea. Sorry, but having a bank account is a plus. Of course, it makes things easier for the payments and everything. But to live in Japan, I think if you're retired, then you have to find some other way to actually live here full time. Revision Rick Free. What is it? The question. Sorry, much cheaper than $5 million. My associate paid for a parking space for his car in Tokyo. Yes, of course. I'm sure even a parking space in Tokyo would be expensive. Just seeing your live stream, catch Farcaster before going to bed, so I won't stay long. Thank you for your comment. Thank you for making this comment before going to bed. Good night to you. I don't know where you are, but probably in the East Coast. So East Coast, I think it's close to, or I think it's in the evening in the East Coast, or even further down the time zone. I'm not so sure. Remote in Japan, remote work. Yes, remote work is getting really popular, even among people living in Japan, like Japanese national. So really, the trend to move out of the city is spreading, not just in other countries, but even within Japan, and people are. So that's the thing. People are looking for a remote. Well, the definition of remote also kind of depends, but people are looking for countryside homes to do like a. In Japan, there's a really popular term called nikyoten seikatsu. So that means to live in the main house and then go to the second home for work, maybe a few days a week, and just have this dual lifestyle in between two places, the city and the countryside. and the media has been featuring a lot on that. So I think it's even more popular. The most popular destination that I have seen is Iwaji, Iwaji Island in between. Where is it? The island in between Osaka and Shikoku islands. That's very popular for onion, and what is it? Onion and maybe Thai red snapper, the fish. But that area has been really popular among Japanese to buy like a vacation home. Uh, that is where the company Persona moved their. I think they have their. I don't know if they have their main office in Iwaji Island now, or they have another Iwaji Island office. But anyway, they have like a lot of employees who are relocated to that island. I think that's a big uh, catalyst for people seeing potential for those areas as like a vacation spot, as well as doing like a remote working. Uh, Pike Pine with the temporary visa restricting time in Japan. Are there some other things that probably can be used that won't make the neighbor? Oh, sorry, I already answered that question. Sorry. Hi, Randa Mono. Have you ever been curious about buying land in the countryside to build? Um, yes, it's very easy. It's very easy. But I never thought about it because again, I'm really just more interested in um, preserving the old homes. They're standing on the land, but there are a lot of lands for cheap in the countryside. Hokkaido is a different level. Like you can, but usually you have to have the farmland license to do farming. But just buying a residential land in the countryside to build house is relatively simple. House in Sayo. Where is Sayo? Yoon Jin Kim, hello. Sayo. So Sayo, can you explain Sayo, like the region? Do you think I can find Akiya around houses in Tokyo? Yes, of course you can. There are vacant homes around Tokyo. It's just that, of course, they are going to be more expensive, and I don't think you have a lot of choices because, again, a lot of other people are looking. So if you're okay, really, the train system in around Tokyo is so. Um, I wouldn't say perfect, but I mean it's so good that you don't living 1 2 hour train away from Tokyo is not a big deal if you don't have to commute all the time. So Chiba, Tochiki, um, where is it? Kanagawa, anything around the Tokyo area with the train shouldn't be too bad to finding an Akiya. と getting a little bit cold out here. Can I open a bank account as in Japan as a foreigner? So the answer is no, you cannot. But if you are going to open a business here, start a business here in Japan, I think you can create a bank account as the company. Um, Other than that, just as like a foreigner visiting, no, you will not be able to make a bank account. Eric, thank you for your comment. Thank you. Um, add a link to your home website, Brian. So, link to what kind of link? Sayo District. Sayo District. Hi, Mark from Vancouver, Canada. That's where I lived for 10 years. I was living in the southern part, actually. Um, Elementary, middle school, Sayo District. Sayo. Sorry, can you explain which Sayo? Like Sayo like Hiroshima. Sanyo, that's Sanyo. So sorry, I don't know which Sayo district you're referring to. Heat houses in Japan. Hokkaido is different, but any other part of Japan, they just use air conditioning really most of the time. Air conditioners in different rooms to just heat up different rooms when needed. But floor heating also very accessible these days, and very keep your body very warm inside the house. Um, and sometimes they just have different entrances before somebody enters the house, so they keep the cold in the front layer before entering, and then they keep the heat inside. I don't know if I'm answering the questions right, but let me just do another 5 minutes because it's getting a bit tough. And I think before I go, I'm just going to show you a little bit of the neighborhood while I answer the questions. So sorry if I come to Japan under a work visa and work consistently, will I be able to purchase a house in a city or rural area? You can purchase a house anywhere, even if you have not, if you don't have a working visa. It's just that if you have a working, you have to be working in Japan and you have a good, consistent maybe 5-10 years with the same company or even with the same kind of job content role, then you might be eligible for a housing loan, which is really low in Japan even now. Mark, looking to buy you buy a mansion in Kobe area or Nara. Thank you. Nara has a lot of old houses, so definitely yes. But Nara, some places really I have some, I wouldn't say bad impression, but they feel a bit more conservative than the other areas that I've been to. Um, Dwayne Fong, 20K budget for what? For the house or for everything to renovate? Just the house, yes, that's enough. But to renovate, really, if you buy something with 10K, I think really most of the time you will have to spend another 30, 50K to make it livable. So really the important thing to start small. Don't buy a house too big so you have tons of things to fix. Sayojo Sayogun. Eugene. So I know which one you're talking about. Maybe like the house that's listed on the site. Yes, about it. I think, sorry, maybe I have your email. I haven't been able to get back to you. Sorry, I don't have the information if the schools are good. I think there are schools available, but it's in the rural area, so it's definitely not convenient to send the kids to school in that region, Sayocho Sayogun. But I'll get back to your questions because I think you have some more detailed questions. How would you install wood burning? Sorry, Happy New Year, Suzanne. To renovate. Yes, there are some grants in different parts of the city. Let me just turn the video. Can I turn the video so it's the other way? But usually the grants are not so much. Maybe maximum 1-2 million yen. And really that's it. And a lot of them, it's like the reimbursed ratio 50% or 30%. So in the end, you would have to spend 2 million yen to get a 1 million yen grant. And they do have some restrictions of how you can use the grant. For example, it has to be used to fixing the facade, or you cannot. I was off the Wi-Fi area because I'm connected to Wi-Fi. So sorry, I think I won't go too far. And thank you everyone for joining the live chat. I'm really happy that I get to answer a lot of questions that you have. And sorry, my phone isn't exactly that good for doing a live chat. Let me just see if there are some other questions that you have. 'That house looks most like Korean. Ah, yes, 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 yes. I know. I I will get back to your question on the email that you sent me. Um, oops, what happened? Don't forget to hit like. Yes, yes, please do. If you like